Parshas Matos, Tavshin Ayin Daled. This year, unique, as we know, once every couple of years, Parshas Matos is without Parshas Maseh. So when I look back at the other Shiur that we've said over the years, and we've had Parshas Matos, Maseh, Chazak, so we have a special privilege this week to dedicate tonight's Shiur just to Parshas Matos. And we have a very beautiful inyan from the Nesivos Shalom that we're going to speak about tonight. Of course, the first and foremost thing on everybody's mind this week is what's going on in Eretz Yisrael. We're following it minute to minute with bated breath. We're davening for the soldiers in Eretz Yisrael, for all those that are running into shelters and are on the front lines of protecting, of being with Achenu B'nai Yisrael, those in Eretz Yisrael. So of course we like to say that tonight's Shiur, the chus of the Limud HaTorah that comes out of tonight's Shiur, should be a chus for Achenu B'nai Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael. The pasuk says in this week's parsha, we're discussing going to war, going to the Milchemes Midyan. The pasuk says, "Hechaltzu meitchem anoshim latzava." The tzivui for this war of Milchemes Midyan was that you should arm yourselves with anoshim latzava, with people that are going to go out and fight. Rashi, on this pasuk, Rashi says, and what does the word anoshim mean? The word anoshim, Rashi says, plain and pashut, anoshim doesn't mean just any people. It doesn't mean the title anoshim really is people. It doesn't mean any people. Rashi says anoshim means tzaddikim. But there's an interesting medrash. The medrash in Shiur talks about this. And the medrash tells us that all 12,000 people who went to fight this Milchemes Midyan, what made them tzaddikim? The pasuk says, you take tzaddikim. What made them tzaddikim? A very, very interesting thing. The medrash says what made them tzaddikim is because they were people who never put on their tefillin shel rosh before the tefillin shel yad. Okay, I'm assuming that every person in this room does the same thing, really, right? So the Medrash tells us, Rashi says tzaddikim. What does tzaddikim mean? People who never put on their tefillin and the other put it on out of order. Where you would put on your tefillin shel rosh before the shel yad. They always did it right. They put on the tefillin shel yad. And then they put on the tefillin shel rosh. And took the Medrash, because they had done that they had a schus to go fight in the Milchama. If they wouldn't have done that, Moshe Rabbeinu would not have been able to praise them, and they wouldn't have been chosen to go to Milchama and come away from the Milchama b'Shalom. Tremendous schus this was. So the Nesivos Shalom says, obviously, what everybody in this room is thinking right now, everybody in this beautiful, spacious room of Bika Chalom, headquarters of Lakewood, everybody's thinking the same thing. What is so unique? What is so special? What is the reason that they were makbid to only take people who were makayim the mitzvah of tefillin correctly? There has to be some special significance. There has to be some special reason. And also, Frank the Nesivos Shalom, why dafka only here by Milchemes Midyan? We needed people who did the mitzvah of tefillin correctly, but we don't find it anywhere else. We don't find it by the Milchemes Sichaim, Ba'oig. We don't find it. We find it only by Milchemes Midyan, and only this mitzvah, the mitzvah of tefillin. So the Nesivos Shalom explains this all-encompassing mitzvah of tefillin. And the explanation is a bit deep. Listen in, you'll hear something very beautiful. A yid has two ikar parts of themselves. What are the two driving forces behind a person? We know the driving forces behind the person are the moyach and the lev. It's your heart and your mind and your heart. Those are the two main parts of a person. Why? Why is it the main part? Because those two things have control over every single thing that a person does. And Dr. Nesivos Shalom, what is the mission of a yid? What is the mission of every person? The mission is to take control of your mind and your heart and use it for avodas Hashem. Because once you get control of that, then really you have control of everything. Since they are the two main components, the main parts of a person, so a person's mission in life is to make sure you have control over your mind and heart and use it for avodas Hashem. And that, says in Nesivos Shalom, is precisely what tefillin is. Like we say in the Shem Yichud of tefillin, that the tefillin shel yad are what? They're neged halev. And what do you do with it? L'shabed b'zeh taivos u'machshavos. That, right, it's keneged halev. Tefillin shel yad are neged your heart. And what does that accomplish? It accomplishes a person being mishabed, a person controlling his taivos and machshavos. That's tefillin shel yad. And tefillin shel rosh, we say, is neged hamoyach. Tefillin shel rosh, we know they're put on your head. That is neged your mind. In other words, it can be mishabed in the neshama of your moyach, also to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we need to say this point, says Nesivos Shalom, that tefillin shel yad must go before the tefillin shel rosh. Why? Because it teaches us a lesson. That before you work on the neshama of your moyach, before you work on the neshama in your mind, you need to control your taivos and machshavos. That is a lesson, and it's a life's lesson, and it's an important lesson that every person has to do. It has to be in that order. First, you control, get yourself under control. Control your taivos, control your machshavos, and then you can move on to putting your mind in order. By the Milchama of Midian, in this week's Parsha, you know what they had to fight against? They had to fight against the influences of Bilam. That's what we've been dealing with over the last couple of weeks in the Parsha. The influences of Bilam. Bilam, what did Bilam want? Bilam wanted to be poiging the taivos and machshavos of Klal Yisrael. Bilam didn't want to go to a physical war with Klal Yisrael. Bilam wanted to influence the machshavos of Yidden. He wanted to have an influence on the taivos of a Yid. Therefore, in order to win this battle of Bilam, in order to win this battle, they needed those type of people who understood that the tefillin shel yad had to go before the tefillin shel rosh. That first you have to deal with your taivos and machshavos, like by the battle over here that we had to fight Bilam. First you deal with that. And then once you accomplish that, the person gets himself and his Yetzer Hara under control, then we can go on. We can go on to a person's moyach. Therefore, the tefillin shel yad, the only way they were able to fight this war is if you understood that the tefillin shel yad had to go before the tefillin shel rosh. First deal with your taivos and your thoughts, then you can go full steam into your moyach, into avodas Hashem. And by all other milchamos, like the milchama of sich and ba'oi, it wasn't that way. That was a physical milchama. Then you could take other types of people to fight. But over here we needed the type of people who understand what it is to go to Milchemes HaYetzer. And that's a lesson to learn from this week's Parsha. This week, we all fasted. We began the 3 weeks on S.S.S. We're now in the first week after S.S.S. And we have a period of time that we call Bein Hametzarim. This is the time where every year, unfortunately for almost 2,000 years now, or if you go back from before the machlokes, whether they fasted Tisha B'Av and all this, the machlokes in the Gemara, if it was actually for the first base of Mikdash, and if it is for the first base of Mikdash, it's almost 2,500 years. And we have this period of time between Shavuos and Tisha B'Av where we are in a period of Avelis. Chazal tell us, Gemara, Masechta Yuma, Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis, a very interesting thing. Chazal tell us that B'shah shenichnesu ha'oivim leheichal, at the time that our enemies got into the heichal of the Beis Hamikdash, Ro'u, they saw something. What did they see? They saw something fascinating. Ro'u ha'kruvin ma'urin zeh b'zeh. They saw the kruvin. What were they doing? They were embracing each other. And now, if you ask me, that seems to be a very, very puzzling thing. Isn't that a sign? Wasn't the kruvin urin zeh b'zeh? Wasn't that a sign of the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Klal Yisrael? It was a sign of that. Why was that happening, and how was that happening? B'shas HaChurban. When they got into the Heichal, when they got into the Bein Hamekzarim, that's what they saw. They saw that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves Klal Yisrael. What was it? What was going on over there? Just at that time, that's what they should see. So the Nesivos Shalom brings a beautiful, beautiful thing from the message of Magid. It's Yagan Aleinu. The pasuk says in Eicha, which if Mashiach doesn't come, we're going to learn in a couple of weeks. The pasuk says, "Kol roifeha hisigua Bein Hametzarim." Now, really, what this pasuk, the shot in the pasuk, is that our enemies, they caught up with us, and we were caught, and we were defeated then, right? But he says an unbelievable drasha, the Medrash Magid. He says that we could say drush on this pasuk that Kol roifeha hisigua Bein Hametzarim. That anyone who wants to pursue HaKadosh Baruch Hu, anybody who wants to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when is the time to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Bein Hametzarim. Kol roifeha hisigua Bein Hametzarim. You want to know when it's the time that you could come closest? When is there a time that it's misugal for a yid to get close and create a bond like the Kruvim with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That is Bein Hametzarim. And we know, if it's a time that's misugal, we know how much everybody loves skulas. Everybody's always looking for a skula. I think this is a beautiful skula. Don't just look for skulas for this, for money, for shidduchim, for this, for that. This is a very important skula. It's a time that's misugal for this. As we know, when a king is in his palace, so it's very, very tough to reach the king, right? The king has to get by security clearance and everything, yeah. But when the king is on the road, when the president, the Rosh Hamenshala, when they're out of their palace, when they're out of the White House, when they're out, they become much, much more accessible to anybody that reaches out to them. We know that's a fact. It's easier. During Bein Hametzarim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in a situation of wandering, Kaviyachol. Since then, when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachol, went into Golos with Klal Yisrael. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Kaviyachol in a stage, in a place of wandering. And it's during this time of the year, it's dafka at this time of the year, every year, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is wandering, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us and displays His love for Klal Yisrael more than at any other time. Just like the Kruvin at that time, when Klal Yisrael had obviously done the serious chatoim related to Bein Hametzarim, related to Silas China, and they went through that whole thing. And just at that time, this time of the year, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting for us. We're so low down, and we're down at the time of the Churban, and we're down now in this time of the year. You know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees when we're down? HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that we need Him. We don't have another Eitzah. Look what's going on in the world around us. The whole world is falling apart. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that we lean on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only one we can turn to. And that brings out the love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When Hashem sees that we're leaning on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we need HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes, dafka, at this time of the year. It's an Eis Ratzai. It's a time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have the capability of bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu close to us. Where HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of us like Banim, His children. We have the custom of the 3 weeks. It's not just about not wearing fresh laundry in the 9 days, not listening to music, we forget sometimes, it gets lost in us, what the reason is. What the reason is that we're doing all these things. The reason is because we're over on Sinas China. Let's turn it around. Let's make this a time of the year of Avas China. Understand that this is a time of year HaKadosh Baruch Hu is waiting for us. He's waiting for us to come close. And let's talk about Zoicha. And very, very soon, the Yeshua in Eretz Yisrael and the Bein Hametzarim from Herod Yamein.